being a yoga and meditation teacher really had so much to do with me seeking a deeper way to connect to myself and others through communication. Because what I became very much aware of due to the practices that I brought into my everyday life was that even though I really desired to speak from my heart, I was disconnected from that place of my heart, from my emotional body. And like many, I was raised in a family that didn't really encourage me to be comfortable with my feelings and to be in touch with the emotional body. I was shown ways to actually numb.
I don't like to argue, so I say nothing and fume for days.
How do I set boundaries without sounding like a jerk?
I hate the idea that I might accidentally offend somebody, so sometimes I'd just rather say nothing at all.
Welcome to the Language Alchemy Podcast, and thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Alejandra Siroca. I'm a transformative communication teacher and coach devoted to helping you have more peace and more harmony in your life in all your relationships. So first of all, let's take a moment to connect to ourselves so that as we have this conversation, we both communicate and connect with the confidence and presence of the belly center, the openness, warmth, compassion of the heart center, the clarity and courageous eloquence of the head center, so that it may benefit all beings, especially those who are listening to the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So today I have such a treat for all of you because I have a guest who is an exceptional human being. Her name is Denise DeLuca. She is a yoga and meditation teacher who leads classes, workshops, retreats in the Northeast and also in the Caribbean. And she is also a beautiful mother and recently has become a grandmother as well. And for her whole life, she's been an artist. I've had the honor of guiding Denise in her communications. So I invited her to talk to us about that process for her and also her intentions in her communication for the new year so that you get inspired to consider what your intentions for this new year may be in terms of how you communicate with others and bring forth the qualities that you would like for your life, your families, and your communities. So welcome, Denise. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, Alejandra, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So I'd like to tell us what led you to engage in this transformative work related to communication, especially after being on a journey of transformation for so long, studying, teaching yoga, studying, teaching meditation. So what led you to engage in this transformative aspect of the journey of transformation with communication?
I love this question because it really got me thinking about the journey and the path. And as you mentioned, being a yoga and meditation teacher really had so much to do with me seeking a deeper way to connect to myself and others through communication. Because what I became very much aware of due to the practices that I brought into my everyday life was that even though I really desired to speak from my heart, I was disconnected from that place of my heart, from my emotional body. And like many, I was raised in a family that didn't really encourage me to be comfortable with my feelings and to be in touch with the emotional body. I was shown ways to actually numb, through alcohol or really rigorous work habits,
Right.
how to numb that connection. And so the blessing came from years of yoga and meditation and these practices. Like I said, I really had this yearning to connect with more courage, and to have more clarity with the way I communicated so that I could be compassionate with myself and then offer that compassion in relationship to others and to life.
Yeah, thank you for really noticing that you wanted to have that compassion for yourself, for others, and that you didn't really know how to communicate your feelings because you had not been taught how to communicate them, and that you really wanted to know what was in your heart so that you could communicate it. And I remember our first encounter was when you came to my online program, my online course, Speaking the Language of the Heart.
Yep.
Right.
And I was scared. It was scary for me.
Yeah. How so?
Well, just to realize that it was going to be challenging. It was going to be something that would place me in a place of true vulnerability. After working in the program, then I chose to work with you one-on-one. And that was a message you had sent out for the new year. Work with me one-on-one. And I thought, this is a message that went right into my heart with a sense of knowing I had to do this. And also I was like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. Actually, the fear came from not being eloquent, not being able to say it with anything with clarity, not being able to communicate with a sense of compassion, in that the fear of hurting someone else's feelings with the way I would say something, that all of that was the energy.
Yeah. And all that fear, it's like when someone goes into a yoga class and they're scared because they say, I'm not flexible. I don't know how to do these postures. And this is all strange. And I don't know how to move my body in these ways. So so when we learn about communication, of course, we don't have the clarity or the eloquence or all these things. And that's what the beauty of it, just like with the beauty of the yoga path, we can learn. We can learn all these skills. And so I'm wondering, now that you have been on this path of transformative communication too, added to your path of transformation, this alchemical journey, what or how are you able to communicate now that you were not able before?
I truly sense that when I communicate, it comes from a place of intentional connection to my heart, the heart center, with a sense of real openness and receptivity, and to be really present, I think, present with what is being offered in the exchange, or what is being offered from what needs to be shared from my heart, what's being offered from an uncomfortable energy that may be being voiced from my emotional body. Those kinds of things, I feel like I'm more easily able to tap into that connection so that I can then bring forth a conversation that feels like it's courageous and there's clarity in it. And there's also a spaciousness and a space of compassion.
Yeah, beautiful that now you are able to have this intentional connection with others. And when you do that, Denise, what are some of the qualities that you bring to that communication that are important for you to acknowledge or celebrate about yourself that you have been able to cultivate while doing this work?
Wow. I think the two things that come up for me are the two L's for me in my life, which is love and listening. Love of relationship, love of humanity, being part of, and this feeling, this belonging, and being part of this human family. So I bring forth a love of that. It's like I didn't mention earlier too that I'm a twin. So I was born already feeling this sense of belonging and connection. So this is what I yearn for, this kind of meaningful connectivity that I truly sense and know is present for all human beings. And we all yearn for that. We're wired for that connection. Right?
That's right.
I learned that from you. And I learned it from this innateness of being in the womb. So that love for the connecting, and then the listening aspect, bringing a sense of listening to myself, but also listening to what the other person is sharing, really being wholeheartedly present for the other person and not in a place of my head or my triggered emotions. Like if the person is sharing something with me, how I can listen with the ears of my heart without being offended or trying to take a fixed position for anything, but to really be truly listening to them and their heart.
How beautiful, because that's one of the things after working on teaching communication, coaching on communication for so many years and offering these programs on how to speak our truth, how to speak from our heart. What I find is that then people would come and say, well, I need to learn. I'm speaking from my heart. I'm speaking my truth. But then when the others are speaking who have not come to your program or to this workshop or read any books on communication, they're still not speaking that way. And I'm still getting triggered. And that's why I launched a course on listening. That's why I teach more about listening, because without that, even if we speak from our heart, we still get triggered. We still take it personally. We still shut down and think that we need to give up our authentic selves. So how beautiful that you recognized these two L's, the listening. And what I could hear in your words, Denise, was that the foundation of that listening for you is love.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Alejandra, I think part of the love is loving into life. And what I've learned with you also, and I think why we resonate, is that for me, this is a real spiritual path. And I think the meditation and the practices that we do value so much, you and I, in our own day-to-day life that support us, I really sense that helps refine my capacity to listen. You talk about meditation. It's the practice of being with what is. And how can we be with what is, especially when it's uncomfortable or not what we want it to be like, or and yet the practices help us be like, not with waiting for it or wishing it to be any other way, but to really be able to open to that. And I think that that's part of the listening too, is listening with the heart and with total presence. For me, it's been transformational, and that's part of the work I've done with you.
Yes, it has been for me as well, personally, and also working with you and witnessing the just beautiful unfolding of your capacities and skills with your communication and the qualities that you're bringing forth. And something that you and I have shared many times during our times together is that we're both students. We're both students of wisdom, peace, love, transformation, life. And we take our life and life itself as our gurus, our teacher.
Yes.
And because we're students, we're open to learning, and we're constantly learning and refining and having new experiences and learning to show up in those new experiences in life. Not having a script or a formula. Okay, when this happens, this is what you say, this is what you do, but rather showing up with that intentional ability to connect that you were talking about. So I'm wondering, since I just mentioned that word intentional and intention, what are some of your intentions with your communication in the new year?
Yeah. My intention for this new year is one that begins with authority, authorship of my own life. And in this way, to take true authorship, and it comes from being a student. Absolutely, I continue on this path of life, which is the great teacher, as a student, to step in every moment more and more fully. And this takes taking authorship meaning that I take responsibility for the way I show up and the way I want to be and how I contribute. And I think what's most intentional about this in the coming year, 2022, is to work with women and to examine how, as a collective consciousness, how we communicate with women as women.
Yeah.
And my intention is to bring forth a sense of power by being connected to one another, nurture one another, and to not only nurture, but to bring forth the strength and the power of collaboration and a sense of community. That these are all related to like very feminine energies. And I feel like there's this real momentum for me right now coming into 2022 to kind of like wrap my arms around all of the women I know and invite more in to the conversation so that we can really investigate, how have we not been speaking with life affirming language to each other? How do we perpetuate this? And that it's such a valuable conversation to have. It seems very obvious to me that the world needs more collaboration, more heart of communication, and more compassion. And I think we as women are being called to bring forth this divine Shakti, this divine feminine energy forth for men as well. And yet I think it starts with us, So my intention is to continue to cultivate the conversation, bring it forth with courage and confidence and more clarity for the well-being of all beings.
May it be so, Denise. Thank you so much. And thank you for talking about how what we as women need more of to cultivate, to understand, to explore and examine is this quality of collaboration. Collaboration happens when we communicate with one another and are able to open our hearts and minds to want to understand one another. So I know you're giving me ideas for another episode with you where we can talk about this. And so I will definitely have you back. For now, for everyone who's listening, and especially for the women who are listening and those who know women who are listening, how can people find you, Denise?
Okay. Well, I do have a website, Denise DeLuca, and you can reach me at denise@denisedeluca.com. So please join me there. And I will be teaching online classes. So look for that on my website. I teach a weekly meditation. We do mantra, breathing, and meditation it'll be Wednesdays in the new year. And I look forward to growing our community of hearts.
Yeah. Yeah, may that be so as well. And I will add the link to the show notes. So go check her out, take her online classes, her mantra meditation classes, maybe go to one of her retreats. Yeah. So I really want to thank you. I have so much gratitude for the work that you have done with yourself, Denise, so that you can bring forth these beautiful qualities of love, compassion, feminine strength that you bring to your classes and your students and their families. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alejandra, and thank you for your continued love and support. And I am excited to continue our discovery and exploration in the new year as well.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening. Until next week, and as we say in Argentina, ciao ciao. Original music by Gary Lapoe. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.